If you're looking for the best essential oils for your sacral chakra, you've come to the right spot. Welcome to the second episode of the Sixth Sense series with myself and Elizabeth Ashley. I can't believe I've got that many S's out in one sentence. How are you today, Liz?
I'm really well, thanks, Adam, and I'm really looking forward to this. I've been sinking right into the sacral chakra essential oils this week, and but really interesting sort of downloads while I've been doing the work.
I can't wait to dive through them, and we've dressed appropriately. We've found our best orange for the day. Let's start off by just some basics about the sacral chakra. Of course, you can find this information quite readily, but this is the second of the major seven chakras. It's located below the navel. Now, I tend to say it's where we kind of feel that sexual arousal energy, but it resonates with the color orange. Now, it's also associated with the reproductive organs and the reproductive system. And for what the sacral chakra governs, I think thinking about the reproductive system really kind of tells you about the sacral chakra. What do we use the reproductive system for? Well, reproducing or creativity, but also pleasure. And really, the sacral chakra is about our creativity, our pleasure, and also intimacy as well. So we can use essential oils in a whole range of different ways to help bring that chakra into balance. Now, hopefully, you've checked out our base chakra episode already, where we talk about the fact that chakras can have too much energy. We might need to settle that down. It might have not enough energy, and we need to amplify that, or we might just want to keep that harmony in there. So I actually find, our chakras are ebbing and flowing all the time. But for me personally, Liz, my sacral chakra is my weakest chakra and the most likely to be underactive.
That's really interesting. I'd say my root is probably the most likely to be underactive. So why have you any thoughts on why that might be for you?
I know, well, speaking generally, first of all, the negative emotion that often impacts the sacral chakra is guilt. And often we can feel guilty. I know a lot of women experience an underactive sacral chakra because there's guilt around pleasure, enjoying yourself, intimacy, and doing what you want to do. Like, how dare you have fun when you've got a partner and children and family and other obligations and things you should be doing? Whereas the sacral chakra really encourages you to feast on the buffet of life. And I think sometimes guilt can come into that. And for me personally, I think I always feel expectations around, um, you know, achievement and making sure I'm working hard. And also probably that aspect of intimacy, which I'll talk a little bit with one of the oils, sometimes may feel a little bit disconcerting for me, maybe just because of how I was raised.
Yeah, interesting. What is interesting actually is how I decided to attack my own videos on my own about the chakras this week was to really sort of sink into the things that I learned when I was doing the bee shamanism and the bee priestesses. And one of the videos is about exactly that. I chose to talk about Ylang Ylang in the context of the sexual priestesses at Eric's in Sicily. And I did that in my video about Ylang Ylang because I think that Ylang Ylang is a tremendous sacral chakra oil because it attacks so many different levels. I'm going to go straight in and talk about the safety first, even though it doesn't feel relevant, but I just don't want to forget it. So maximum dilution for your Ylang Ylang essential oil is 0.7%, so it's really quite low, and we wouldn't want to use it in the first 37 weeks of pregnancy. And the reason for that is because it works on the womb, on the uterine organ, uterus. um, so it's great if you're in labour because it will really help with the contractions. But before that, we wouldn't want to touch it. But I think that Ylang Ylang is tremendous from a hormonal level. You know, with any kind of hormonal imbalance, sort of, we'll see it. Sort of sacral chakras will often show up with things like menstrual problems when you go through menopause, for sure. So menstrual cramps, but also I think PMT. So anytime when the hormones go up and down and up and down. It's a tremendous one, because the key word for Ylang Ylang is always going to be balance. But I agree entirely what you're saying, that the one of the things that really stops the sacral chakra working is not just guilt over, I shouldn't be doing that because there's other things I should be doing, but that most certainly is a thing, but guilt over intimacy and sex. And I think really that this is a really aphrodisiac oil. You kind of have to just go with what happens in your head when you use Ylang Ylang. And incidentally, it will make you nauseous if you use it for too long. This is not a space that you can inhabit for very long. It also gives me a really bad headache. But if you can kind of just go into the Ylang Ylang space, you are immediately taken into almost like a harem state where it is sensuality all around you. And I use the word sensuality deliberately over sexuality. I definitely think sexuality comes into it, but you kind of have that sense of like, oh, I want to touch the velvet couch, and oh, these beautiful ostrich feathers, I got to run my fingers through it. Oh, I really want to smell that oil. And this inhabitation of this feeling of sensuality is really key to chakra energy.
I think also Ylang Ylang is so powerful at really helping to quieten that overactive mind. And when the mind is overactive, it really does take us out of the present moment. And I think the sacral chakra really does allow us to relish in the present moment, and those sensual pleasures of what looks nice, what smells nice, what tastes nice, what feels nice, what sounds nice. Would you agree?
I would definitely. I always think back to like something I reflect on from my teenage years. I absolutely adored Ylang Ylang when I was a youngster. And obviously we were always had oils all the way around us all the time in our house. And Mum used to make a Ylang Ylang moisturiser that used to sell out over and above everything else. So the house often smelled of Ylang Ylang. And I was aware that it was very, very relaxing to me. So I used to quite often wear Ylang Ylang when I was going off to school, if I got an exam or something like that. And we had a reunion, I don't know, about 4 years ago now. And one of the lads said, I said, oh, I was expecting nobody to remember me at all because I was so timid. And he said, do you know, he said, not only do I remember you and how good you were on the stage, he says, I remember that you always smelt lovely, especially when we went into exams. And I was like, how strange that somebody should remember that. But in the time that's passed through my lifetime, I've realised that was really not a very good thing to do, because Ylang Ylang is so good at taking us into that languid state. It actually switches off mathematical processing. Mm-hmm. So when you do like tests of like trying to do mathematical reasoning, you're much more slower, you're less accurate, because your brain's just going, I can't be bothered with this, I don't want to be inhabiting this logical world at all. So I really probably screwed myself over in my exams. But yeah, that's I think it's definitely true. It takes you into that really lazy, languid, I love the word languid for Ylang Ylang, almost like a cat stretching, you know. Yeah.
Now, I do want to ask a question on behalf of 50% of the rest of the population. You mentioned Ylang Ylang is really good for menstrual issues and PMT and so on. Do you think Ylang Ylang is great for men and their sacral chakra?
I would say it definitely is, because, well, okay, so I can only talk from a scientific point of view on this one, because I can't actually remember a time when I've used it on men except to relax them down. I've certainly used it in aphrodisiac blends, and from a personal point of view, seen good things happen there. But if you look at the science, it slows heart rate, it lowers blood pressure, it slows the breathing. So all of those say I'm going into a gentler, more relaxed state, which would be a sacral chakra state. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So let me take us into a bit of a journey away from that kind of sensual aspect and more to that kind of joyous and creative aspect of the sacral chakra. This is where I love orange oil. Now, I'm a bit of it might be a bit of a simplistic approach, but when it comes to our citrus oils, we kind of get the rinds are either red, orange, yellow, or green, and I match them up with the chakras. So I could have talked about clementine or green or tangerine or even grapefruit, but I find that orange is just such a beautiful oil for the sacral chakra. When I watch people smell this essential oil, I just see them light up. And it's almost as though when someone smells it, they almost remember that they're allowed that little bit of pleasure in their lives, that little bit of joy. I use wild orange with people to help them get through dark times. It's a really great oil to use through winter when things have become a bit somber. Research has found that inhalation of citruses because of the limonene does increase serotonin in the body. So it really just brings that joyous aspect to life. And as we feel a bit more joyous, we kind of, I guess, connect to our own bliss. And when we connect to our own bliss and joy, we then feel more comfortable in who we are. Now, I'm sure if I was to ask, people to send me videos of their best turkey impersonation, I probably wouldn't get many videos sent to me. But if you're with your best friends and you're all pretending to be turkeys, because you feel comfortable and joyous in that way, you can kind of allow that creativity to flow. Now, Liz and I, we're both creative. We both write books and develop educational stuff. And I'm sure you would agree that we are at our best, most creative when we're feeling happy, when we're feeling relaxed, when we're joyous, when we're in the flow and we're enjoying things. And I think wild orange is a beautiful one to bring into our lives, using it in whichever way we can to really awaken that joyous spirit and almost that childlike spirit of just enjoying life again. And I think wild orange or even bitter orange or sweet orange, all the oranges are really, really beautiful for that sacral chakra work.
I agree. You stole one of my oils again. I would definitely have gone for orange had I got in with my list faster than you.
Yeah.
I think so. Actually, so I ask a question. You talk about wild orange. Is that the same as what I would call sweet orange?
Yes, it is. Yep, doTERRA has labelled it as wild orange. It is the same. I don't know why they ran with wild orange over sweet orange. I would prefer sweet orange because that I know is the more common term around the world. But yes, we're talking about that same oil.
Presumably, they don't grow wild though.
No,
You're,
I don't know the reason behind it, to be honest.
how rude! How rude!
Yes.
Well, so, well, one of the things I found most interesting about Orange Jordan, I have to say, it's not one I've sat and studied for ages and ages because I'm not that intrigued by it, to be honest. It doesn't do things that I think are really sort of magical or mystical or interesting, but it is one of my favourite oils. And the thing that I found most interesting was if you search what oil sells the most across the world, I would have expected that to be lavender, but it's not. It's sweet orange. And what's interesting, I wonder if that even includes wild orange in that statistic. Now it's been said that, I don't know. But I think maybe that's misleading because I guess a lot of it will go into like food extracts and orange squash and things like that. I don't know. But anyway, that's an awful lot of orange oil, the majority of which comes out of America, and it's a very sustainable crop. So I really am high up there with like waving the flag for orange. And I always say it's my favourite oil to get out if I feel like I've been smacked by the ugly stick, because I just think it's like, it just goes, you're not ugly, you're really pretty. And you suddenly go, I know. And then you're in that, but it's a really good set. And you're up there straight away. And that's exactly what it does. And I think I agree. All of the citruses really get the juices flowing, from the creativity point of view, which is why I've picked lemon as one of my oils for the sacral chakra. I just want to talk about safety again here. For those of you that are thinking about making blends for the sacral chakra, and because the amounts we use are so tiny, you might say, well, I'm going to make a little rollerball, so I've always got some. Or you might say, well, I've got to make a pot of cream. Fantastic, all of that is good. But the citrus oils are very high in what's called monoterpenes, and they degrade very quickly. And so they will oxidize fast, and so that they go off. So if you are making a preparation that you're not going to use immediately with a citrus oil, so I'm going to say lemon from my point of view, orange from Adam's, whether that's sweet orange essential oil or wild orange, you are going to need to put a preservative in it. Now, normally that would only apply if you were putting water in, rather than oils. But IFRA, which is the International Fragrance Regulation Authority, say anything that is high in limonene, which orange and lemon both are, need an antioxidant. And I think the one that's most common in America is called BPA. But if you just look up cosmetic preservative, just add a little bit of that. They're all different, so I can't give you dilutions. But just look at the label, it'll tell you how much to use. But you must always preserve anything that has got a citrus oil in. And so I think that's going to be really relevant when we're talking about the sacral chakra, and it will be relevant when I talk about this, the solar plexus chakra in the next video too.
Now, I obviously stole orange before you could get in, and you've gone with lemon. Is there any... I find orange to have a very more joyous energy than lemon. I find its energy is a bit more maybe serious and probably a bit more grown up even than the childlike energy of orange. Is there any reason why you went with lemon in particular, apart from you just need to squeeze in a citrus there?
Well, obviously, because I'm more of a grown-up than you. You just admitted that then. So, but I think that it's an oil that I use a lot when I'm writing. And if I've written myself, I call it writing myself into a corner, where I've written myself into a place where I just think I can't take that anywhere now, and I get blocked. And so I don't really suffer from writer's block because I've got too many ideas. What I struggle with is being able to take an idea and to make A to go to B. Sometimes it can take me months and months and months to get from A to B. And lemon oil is so good at just going, yeah, but just have a play. Just really, and it just really gushes out loads and loads of ideas. So if you watch my individual videos, I talk about how I think that lemon oil is like Scheherazade. She was the lady that saved her own life and those of the women in a harem in 1001 Nights, where she was able to talk for 1001 nights, a story that kept the Sultan engaged so he didn't execute anyone. And I just think that's really lemon oil to me. It's like, but there's something else, and then there's something else, and there's something else. But as also you said, it really interacts with the serotonin receptor. And I can't remember. It's through the 5-HT1A receptor, but I can't remember if we can't say enhances, because that would be a medical claim, but certainly supports that. And serotonin is all found in the gut, so we would mainly be talking about solar plexus. But if we think about how it is the mood modulator, but it has about 300 other processes too. So a lot of them will be sustained through the nervous system. And if you think about how the nervous system is so important for like hormonal balance, so if somebody's like long-term stressed or just can't, it's got antidepressant qualities as well. So if you think if somebody is depressed, their sexuality drops, all of that sort of modulation of your body's trying to do so many things to try and heal itself. I think certainly if there's like A, creativity issues, but B, a sort of depressive side affecting hormones, I would always go for lemon to try and lift things and stabilize that mood there. Yeah.
That kind of building on from that moment you talked about pleasure and that happiness. It kind of brings me into another oil or even an absolute that I love to work with for the sacral chakra, and that is vanilla. Now, for me, vanilla is, I found it fascinating actually. There was a study done. I love reading how people do studies, and they just kind of journeyed around the world and interviewed different people from different cultures and different demographics, what their favorite aroma was. And vanilla was found to be the most loved aroma worldwide. It kind of beat out all the rest of them. There are not too many people who don't like that kind of luxurious smell of vanilla. And I love the origin story of vanilla. It's a Mexican myth where the goddess Zanet fell in love with a mortal man, but a bit like Romeo and Juliet, their love was forbidden, and they ended up dying in each other's arms. And as their blood spilt, the first vanilla orchid actually sprout. And the idea of that was that vanilla orchid would allow everyone else in the world to enjoy the pleasure and the intimacy that the goddess and that man had for just that short period of time. So when we smell vanilla, when we work vanilla, it really opens up that aspect of allowing pleasure into our lives. And how often we treat ourselves like dogs, I often find that we deserve a little treat because we worked hard, and maybe we'll go on a Friday, we'll spoil ourselves in one way or another by giving ourselves a little treat. Now, I like to think if the creator was to give us all these amazing experiences and things we can try and do in life, and you're at this buffet and you're just eating the lettuce, that's almost a sign of a lack of gratitude. And vanilla really allows us, it's so beautiful at helping to reduce stress levels, reduce guilt levels, and just go, no, screw it. I'm really just going to luxuriate in life and allow that to happen. Now that can be a beautiful thing just in everyday life of just going, let's wear that as my natural fragrance. Let's anoint myself in that to just open myself up to more pleasure. I think it's another great one to pop in the bedroom, in the diffuser, in massage blends as well, to again allow us to luxuriate a bit more into life. And sometimes when we hear about, luxuriating, it sounds excessive, but it's not. It's just about enjoying what life is. I actually saw something on social media today where a young lady was sharing that every day she looks or she lives her life as if this could possibly be the best day of her life. And she looks for what could possibly be signs that this is the best day of her life. And with that approach, it's amazing what she actually notices in life. And I think vanilla opens that up to us as well. The final thing I will say about vanilla is when it comes to either the scent or the taste of vanilla, 99% of what is sold around the world as vanilla is not from the vanilla orchid. It's manufactured. So you do want to be really selective. That's why I choose doTERRA's vanilla, because it is true vanilla from the vanilla orchid. And when we want to be working not just on that physical level, but on this metaphysical level with our sacral chakra, you really want to bring in the most potent medicine from Mother Nature herself. So I absolutely love vanilla for the sacral chakra.
So I adore vanilla. And if ever there was a plant that needs a press officer, it's vanilla. I can't believe that someone decided to say oh my goodness, it's so vanilla. To me, it's banal and boring. There's nothing banal and boring about vanilla. I adore it. However, on one hand, I absolutely agree with your recommendations, but I am going to challenge your thinking a little bit, because I can see arguments for this also being a really good oil for the root chakra. And that is because imagine that you are at that buffet and you have vanilla. The smell of vanilla is proven to reduce cravings for sugar. So that is an appetite thing, a food thing. It's reducing sweetness. The sacral chakra is all about sweetness. So the other thing is that I think if you smell, maybe this is an English thing, it might be, if you smell vanilla, it makes you think of people baking Victoria sandwich, which is like cake that we have, that would take you back to home and childhood, also root chakra. But I also think that all your arguments are absolutely true about the voluptuousness, the luxury of it. So it'd be interesting to see if somebody to like douse somebody's chakras who've got weakness in root and sacral, and see if it affected both, because I think maybe it would.
So would you be more prone to use vanilla for the base chakra, or you're a bit like 50-50 base and sacral?
Truth be told, it's not one that I would even think of in this capacity, but I think, yeah, for me, I think I would use it for root, and then maybe go jasmine for all the things that you were talking about.
Sorry to interrupt for just a moment. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Sixth Sense. Now, you're probably getting rather excited about essential oils, and you might be tempted to go out and just grab some. But did you know the essential oil world is not regulated, and a lot of what it says on the label is not governed by anyone? A fun fact, which is not so fun, is that 75% of all oils that are sold as pure, natural, or organic lavender are not even from a plant. So how do you know what's real? Well, I went looking for that question a long time ago, and I found doTERRA to be a really reliable source of high quality essential oils. They don't just test their oils themselves, but at the end of the process, they have an independent third party verify and double check their oils to make sure that you are getting what nature intended purely from the plant. They also source where nature intended the plants to grow as well. If you want to grab hold of some essential oils from doTERRA, then I offer a discount code, and this is available no matter where you are in the world. Now, I don't want everyone to get essential oils. I want everyone to use essential oils. So when you become one of my customers, you get access to me and my VIP education platforms, ongoing discounts, ongoing freebies, live classes in all time zones all around the world, and so much more. So if you're interested in getting some essential oils that you know are really from nature, and this is important not only physically, but metaphysically as well, please reach out in the links below.
Now, Jasmine's another one I know that is on your list, and that's very luxurious in a more sensual way as well. Why did you choose that one as one of your top three?
Well, for exactly that reason. So in the videos I've done on my own, I talk about how it is like the night goddess and the dark feminine, really. With my favorite thing to say about Jasmine is there's a Sanskrit saying that says, when there is jasmine, there can be no worries. And I think that one of the key things that can be problematic with the sacral chakra is because it processes emotions. We definitely process emotions at the heart chakra, but we certainly process them at the sacral chakra too. That because there's been a lot of anger at the root chakra, when it comes up to the sacral chakra, it can get stuck. And so a lot of the problems that you'll see with dysfunctional sacral chakra will be stuck energy. And so if you think about how difficult it would be, for example, for somebody who had suffered some kind of sexual assault or sexual abuse, it doesn't matter how much work you do on the sacral chakra, probably won't make any difference to the actual feelings of sexuality themselves, because it's going to be stuck. It will be stuck in the auric fields, and so you're going to need to do some work on the etheric bodies. In particular, I would say the first and the fourth etheric bodies. But what you can do is work on the actual emotions that are stuck there. And so in a situation where perhaps you want to have sex but you're stuck and you're frightened, then it would take you into a much calmer place, and it's really good for sort of sexual inhibition and that sort of thing. But I also think that it's really an oil that works on the shadow, those things that you don't think that you should want. It really sort of allows you to go into that space. If you imagine that the flowers are most active under the moonlight, and their job is to intoxicate and to entice and to seduce at night when nobody else is looking, I think that is a very interesting aspect of the oil.
One thing I love about Jasmine as well, as we discussed before about the sacral chakra being to do with intimacy. Now, when we hear the word intimacy, we probably do think of physical or sexual intimacy to start off with. But intimacy can just be about opening up to people and talking about more than the weather or how are you today. It's about showing who you truly are. And that doesn't need to be in a romantic relationship. It could just be with whether we feel comfortable, talking to people around. And I know for me, I feel probably more comfortable on a stage in front of 8,000 people than being stuck one-on-one with someone I don't know too well. And that's that kind of sacral chakra. I don't feel comfortable opening up. And I find Jasmine does allow us to relax into relationships a little bit more. I feel it takes away a bit of judgment. But it also, magically, it's amazing for attracting soulmates and spiritual connections. So when we do want to kind of move beyond just that mundane relationship or lack of connection with people, I think working with Jasmine really opens us up to being available and being open to, more fulfilling, more intimate relationships in our life. Does that make sense?
It does. Although I have to say it does, and I think it's really true. I think, though, actually an oil that you picked earlier, probably I could have commented more about from that point of view, and that's orange. I'm like you. I'm better on stage than I am one-to-one. As you know, I'm quite a shy person. But if you think about how the chakras relate to the etheric bodies, if we imagine that the first etheric body, if people don't know, I'm talking about the aura. The first etheric body is the physical template. The second etheric body is the body of will. So the root chakra connects to the first etheric body, the material world. The second etheric body connects to the sacral chakra, and that second etheric body is fundamentally orange. First of all, when you can see it, other colours will flash through it, and it will change colour on somebody's emotions. But if somebody is presenting on a stage, they will go more and more and more and more orange. And that sort of projection of selling, of presenting, of trying to convince somebody, of bring you along on your journey, it is orange. That's what you see when somebody's doing it. But I also think that in terms of manifestation work, of being able to sort of put yourself into a situation where it's believable for your thoughts and for the universe to say, oh, I believe that has happened, then orange is very good for that. And blending orange and jasmine together, or my favorite, jasmine and lemon together, is really good for that sort of manifestation journey. In fact, I think maybe you told me a story about this. Do you always keep $100 bill in your wallet or something like that? Yes.
That's one of my little magical workings. Yes.
Yeah, and I heard another one the other day that I was like, that's so clever, because I always think it's so difficult to manifest money when you've got none is the first thing. And so when the bills are coming in and you think, I've just got to believe that the money is coming in, how do you do that? Because a part of you is going, is it though? Because I've really got to think about that bill. And I don't know if any of you listen to the Moon Temple podcast with Tavali. She does a great one about manifestation, and she says when something comes through the post or somebody gives you something, gives you a present, and you go, oh, I really wasn't expecting that. She went, anchor that thought, anchor that feeling, because that's what you want to be able to go into. Oh, that's so lovely, I didn't expect that. That's the feeling that you want to be able to do. And I think that is exactly the vibration that that orange takes you into, of like, oh, that's so, yes, I did. Oh, the voice is up, the excitement, the fizz. And so manifestation work in terms of projecting out what you want to attract, whether that's money, whether that's friends, whether that's influence, will all come through orange. But all, as you say, in terms of friendships, intimacy, and those kind of relationships that bond to be really good business relationships. It's not entirely about sex. It's about not being frightened around other people. That is Jasmine, yeah.
One of final point I'll make about Jasmine as well is Jasmine has such a strong connection to the moon. The moon astrologically is linked to the sacral chakra, and also, being a floral oil, it's linked to the water element, and water is often the element that's associated with the sacral chakra. So yeah, Jasmine, I think, is amazing for the sacral chakra. I do tend to move more, because Jasmine also has this potential to be quite spiritual. I actually like Jasmine Sambac best for the sacral chakra out of the types of Jasmine as well. And I think when we did our original Fellowship in Essential Oils, we did talk about the two different types of Jasmine there, didn't we?
Yeah, I'll just do a bit of a plug for Kathy Skipper at Aromanosis. I've got her Jasmine Sambac, and it is one of the most beautiful essential oils that I possess, yeah.
I've kind of been thinking, as we've been talking about lemon and orange and jasmine and Ylang Ylang and vanilla, if we were to mix them all together, that would make a very luxurious, very beautiful blend. And probably if we were making chakra blends, the sacral chakra blend would be one of the best ones. But I'm going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works with my wild card oil for today. Another one that I attribute to the sacral chakra is summer savory. Now, summer savory is a bit of a lesser known essential oil. Chemistry-wise, you would kind of link it. It sits in the family with oregano and thyme in that way. And in aroma, it's a bit like that as well. So why would such this kind of really immune supportive, potent, herbal kind of essential oil work with the sacral chakra? Well, I guess for me, it's a bit of a mythological connection. It is said that satyrs, which are these Greek mythological beings that had the hindquarters of a goat and the upper torso and head and body of a man, like to hang out in grottos, and it is said that savory would grow near those grottos. So for me, I've always kind of connected summer savory to this idea of the satyr. Now, the satyrs were renowned for basically a common word that you hear about them is they were debaucherous. And, sometimes they're just written off as being these wild party animals. Now, I kind of think about, okay, so what would be the satyr equivalent today? And it'd probably be people in their late teens, early 20s, night clubbing, drinking a lot, maybe drug taking, and kind of having a wild time. And sometimes we tut that. But as we look at, and there's certain stories we hear a satyr kind of being isolated, and they're actually quite wise. They have this wisdom because they've got out there and they've lived life. They've enjoyed life. They've luxuriated in life. And I think that summer savory, just like oregano and thyme, that we use them physically to get rid of things that don't serve our body, that possibly compromise our immunity. But I like to use summer savory for helping us shake away those inhibitions that stop that wild child within you. Now, am I encouraging everyone to stay up all night, to drink more than they should, to be consuming recreational drugs? No, I'm not. But I think sometimes we live life on the other end of the scale where we're actually just kind of being a bit too inhibited. a bit mundane, a bit scared to luxuriate, a bit scared to enjoy ourselves, a bit scared to try something creative and to be expansive and to even take a risk when it comes to intimacy. And I find summer slavery connects us with that wild child, that satyr energy, and can be a really great one to kind of give you a bit of a kick up the ass if you're finding your sacral chakra is that underactive and you're just not relishing in the energy and the aspects that we've been talking about in the sacral chakra. Does that make sense?
It does. It's very strong oil though, summer savory, and I think I don't know. I don't feel it. I've got to say this one. I don't feel it. So first of all, satyrs, more than debauched, they are naughty creatures. They are out of control and quite vicious creatures. So that's the first thing. And I would say, in a way, the savory oils are a bit like that. So you would only want to use the smallest dilution. So maximum dilution, I think, is 1%. You certainly wouldn't want to use it on the mucous membranes in any way. So anyone who's thinking, right, I'm going to use this in an aphrodisiac oil, no, you don't want to do that. That's going to hurt if you put it anywhere that gets a little moist. So no. I think I don't get this one, I have to say. I do like the savory oils, but I would use them more in terms of like a warrior in a way. And what's interesting actually is if you look at the original Tantra, which bears no resemblance, to be honest, to how we talk about the chakras today, the original Tantra had nothing to do with colors. It had nothing to do with physical attributes or even emotions. The original tantric teachings were about how does one activate a field of energy to become something else, basically, to become more elevated. And there's lots of different aspects of the sacral chakra, which again I'll talk about in my own videos because otherwise it gets really long. But the one that is interesting from what you've said is it makes you become a warrior. Now, I do think this definitely is a warrior oil because so rich in carvacrol, so rich in thymol, those are the phenols that go to war, and they're really warming and strong. So for all the reasons, I would say don't use it like intimately. But if you wanted to really project out an image of I am strong, I am confident, I am alive, I am joyful, then all of those things definitely do come through with summer savory. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the interesting things from today, as I read your 3 oils, Jasmine I attribute to the sacral chakra as well, like that Jasmine sandback, but I also do kind of link it to the soul star chakra. Lemon for me is a solar plexus, and Ylang Ylang for me is a heart chakra. So we've got a bit of disagreeing, which is tradition here on Fellowship in Essential Oils. But I guess what we want people to do is that we want them to find what they believe will work best for their sacral chakra.
No, that's definitely true, because I think that every relationship with an oil is an intimate relationship. And yeah, like learning to actually work out, well, what difference is that making to me? What is it speaking to, making with me is mastery. But I also think that we can fall into the trap of saying that there is only one set of oils for the heart chakra. There's only one set of oils for the solar plexus. That isn't the case. But likewise, one oil doesn't necessarily work on only one chakra. So, for example, an essential oil doesn't have side effects. It has many main effects. So if we think about all the different main effects that it has, every time it talks to a different physiological aspect of the body, that will also mean that it's got to work to a different chakra as well. So more than one is often the case, I think. So I definitely see that with chamomile, for example.
Very much so. So see us, I guess, as the gatekeepers of oils and the chakras, but that doesn't mean that we are the gatekeepers of the knowledge. We want to fling open the gate and get you thinking for yourself. We often say we're not right, nor is anyone else who's going to tell you these are the right oils. We are encouraging you to experiencing them themselves. Now, when it comes to experiencing these oils, there's a couple of ways I love to make either a blend with some sacral chakra oils or maybe just work with one. I think because of that sensuality of the sacral chakra, either making, like a massage blend or anoint something you can anoint, and where there's touch involved, where you're applying the oils physically to the body. Make sure you, of course, always mix it with the carrier oil, and Liz is always throwing in her dilution so that you can use it at safe levels as well. That's one beautiful way to use it. But as I mentioned before, we've talked about, with the exception of summer savory maybe, some really nice smelling essential oils. Now, one thing that is very popular with humanity that doesn't help the sacral chakra at all are perfumes and colognes. Now, a lot of perfumes and colognes are said to be, made of roses and lily of the valley and all these luxurious things. But when you bore down to the actual ingredients, you will find it's hard to find the ingredients on perfume sometimes, often not on the bottle or the box it comes with. You'll actually find it's a chemical cocktail that upsets our endocrine system, which is our hormonal system, which is linked to our reproductive system. So if you're wanting to balance your sacral chakra, yes, definitely work with essential oils, but also if you can remove all artificial fragrances from your life. This comes in perfumes and colognes, but also the smelly things we find in a lot of our body products that are in the bathroom as well. Why not get rid of some of them and make your own natural things with your essential oils, make your own body washes, make your own personal fragrance, and that is going to do your reproductive system, your endocrine system, and your sacral chakra absolute wonders as well.
I love it.
So hopefully we've given you some insights for the sacral chakra. What we love more than talking about the oils, just as much anyway, we love talking about them, but we love reading your comments. Who do you agree with? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Liz? Do you disagree with both of us? And you think we've missed out a very important sacral chakra essential oil? Or have you found a way that works really well with your sacral chakra? Maybe you pair it with some beautiful orange crystals. So please make sure that you leave a comment below and share your knowledge so that not only me and Liz can learn, but everyone else that's watching this video can learn as well.
Yeah, so I have kept back several of my sacral chakra essential oils because they're hidden in some work that I've done, which will be coming out in September, called the Sensorium Approach, which is two different works, really. One that tells you how to best choose the essential oil for your chakras, but also how to, we were not going to use the word diagnose, but diagnose which is chakra may be dysfunctional for you and how we can get it to an optimal level. And the second part is about being able to take your perfect essential oil to make a blend and then make it the most sacral chakra of the sacral chakraville blend of all, using crystals, music, frequency, metals, yoga, acupressure points to really bring together all of the attributes that you possibly can to really zone in of, right, I want to properly focus on my sacral chakra. I'm going to throw everything at it. Throw the bookcase at it approach is what I call it. And so that will be coming out soon. So do have a look. I've put a link for you to join the email list for when that comes out too. But in the meantime, we'll be talking about the solar plexus video in solar plexus chakra in the next video. So we'll see you soon.
Yes, while we're talking about bookcases, remember my chakra balancing with nature's gifts is available and runs through a whole range of different sacral chakra essential oils and helps you to maybe narrow down which ones are the best for you and make your own sacral chakra blend as well. It's available worldwide and those links are down below as well. We will see you for our next episode when we're going to move up a little and shine brightly with the solar plexus chakra. Until then, take care and blessed be.
Bye-bye.
I'm Elizabeth Ashley, UK Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder of the Aromatic Mystery School, where essential oils meet the deeper, more mystical side of healing. Here you'll explore the spiritual, emotional, and energetic dimensions of plants and learn how to weave them into your own rituals and well-being practices. If you're ready to work in a way that nourishes both your soul and your senses, join us at the Aromatic Mystery School. The link's right below.